Hey, welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your host, RJ, and I'm joined by the regular crew, the OGs, my champion brothers from another mothers, Scott the Gooner and Rob the Red Devil. How are we, gang?
Continuing on, man, plodding on through this busy festive period. Just trying to make sure everyone's safe and happy.
Beautiful. Robbie, from live from down under. What's happening there, bro?
Nah, good. First, boys, just want to wish everyone Merry Christmas. Obviously, I wasn't on the pod. I wasn't feeling the best the other night, so I gave it a miss. So I just want to thank Tom for filling in. And yeah, I hope everyone's been safe on their holidays and enjoying time with the family. And yeah, looking forward to talking football again. It's been a while.
Hey, why are you talking nonsense, Rob? It's convenient that you got sick on the back of that Man United result. What perfect timing. And then you're on a boat the next day, huh?
For everyone that knows, I've gone through a lot worse results this year, so I never back out. And I'm sure you can hear it in my nose that I'm pretty blocked up, but I'm happy to take bullets, man. You know me, I can dish it out and I can take it.
I like the background, can I just say, because if you were to tilt the camera a bit lower, it'd be black and white. It'd be like a perfect Newcastle background as well. So it's quite fitting.
I better
so I'm glad you fixed it up now. That's much better. But you know what? I'm in no position to give anybody slack. All I asked for was a bright end to the new year, not a brighter end to the new year. And that's all we got as Chelsea fans. So I'm sure we'll unpack that. But there's a fair bit to go through, and of course we'll go through all of the fun stuff, and let's introduce those in a live chat, Scott, because we've already got a good audience here.
Yeah, good bunch of lads here. We got George here. Evening, George. Nice to see you. Hope you had a good Christmas too. Shano's here. Shane's pumped. He can't wait for that transfer window. Shane, Newcastle is staying up, man. You and me have been
good
saying it.
Good performance the other day, Shane. I wasn't here to say it, but good performance from Newcastle.
They still going down, Rob? Yes or no?
Yes.
Jeez, that means you must be going down with him.
Ask him in a few weeks' time when Newcastle have signed Barkley, they've signed Aubameyang, then we'll ask him.
That's it. Tom's here. Evening, Tom. Alex is here. Hey, Al. Matt's here. Nice to have you here, Matt. We got Marty. We got Daniel. FPL Rubber Ducky, the man. We'll be talking a little bit of FPL later because it's been a nightmare. We'll be looking backwards at the fixtures that have happened. We'll be looking ahead to some fixtures, particularly the Master versus Apprentice battle between Mikel Arteta and Pep, City and Arsenal, even though Arteta's got COVID. Again, second time. He got it just before we played City last time. He got COVID, and now he's got it again. So I obviously wish him well in his recovery. We'll talk a little bit about Fantasy Premier League and how tricky it's been to navigate. And I want to just quickly chat about whinging managers too at some point, because there's been a bit of a pattern in terms of which managers are doing the most whinging. But I'm sure that'll come up after we look back. RJ, let's start with you. What happened this morning, man?
Well, we all saw it happen. I think first of all, it's important we pay a lot of credit to a team that I've been complimentary of for a couple of seasons. And I know you guys have too, so it's not just me getting all the credit here. Brighton remind me a lot of Chelsea. And why do I say that? They're like the bottom half version because they play possession-based football, but generally tend to lack end product. So that's very much what we have. But this morning, this is how I saw it. We started off very well. We were asserting our authority. Brighton weathered the storm. Then Lukaku scored a nice header from a set piece from the corner. Very nice finish, and that's why we're paying the big bucks for him. Then Brighton started to wake up a little bit and started playing a bit more of their usual football and continued to show why they've got a strong identity under Graham Potter. And they started to cause us a couple of concerns themselves for the back end of the first half. Not without creating any real clear-cut opportunities, but we're starting to win the arm wrestle a little bit. Then in the second half, they pretty much continued on with that theme. But while they created a couple of opportunities, we had the bigger chances, and obviously the clearest one being with the 2-on-1, the Hudson-Odoi and Mount, where we fluffed our lines. And ultimately, Danny Welbeck, Arsenal, Man United legend, come up with what a top header that was. And that, honestly, the boys know I've had a rough couple of days. And when I saw that come up, I just slapped myself in the head thinking that the year 2021 is the year that keeps on giving. But what I will say, this, just to round it off, is while Brighton were fully deserving of their point, because I thought as a neutral played well, there were a couple of very funny, dubious decisions. And I'm talking about there's a Pulisic foul. I thought they didn't even look at it, which I thought was a bit odd. And then the one where Mount, he wins the ball, he shoots it into an open goal, but because Mike Dean blew the whistle before it went over the line, they couldn't even check it. It's like, why are you doing that? And then they scored the injury time goal, great goal, bang on 94 minutes, Mike Dean blows the whistle when we're about to have a final attack. Why couldn't you give it another 30 seconds? Because they spent 90 seconds celebrating. But again, it would have been paper over the cracks because Brighton deserved the point. So I'll leave it at that.
Robbie, you had a bit of a smirk on your face, mate. Something you want to say?
No, look, I've been a little bit naughty over the break. I've been spending a lot of time with family, having late nights. I haven't been watching as much as I wanted, but I made sure this morning I did get up for the Chelsea game, and there's a few more games this week that I'm definitely going to watch. But yeah, look, I think RJ summed it up really good. I think Chelsea started really good. The header from Lukaku was a great finish, and then from there, you think at home at the Bridge again, they'd go on with it. But they keep slipping up. I reckon Chelsea have nearly dropped more points at home from draws against silly teams this year than they should. But I definitely think second half, I think Brighton, came back in, and I think they would deserve another point in the end. And like you said, that header at the end for the equaliser was a great equaliser, great finish to jump in between both and beat Mendy. And like I said, there's them and Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool, we'll talk about it, had their loss as well the other day. I'm pretty sure that was just the last game for those players now that are going to go to the African Cup of Nations.
I think there's one more.
Before the Liverpool game. So but I like all of these comments in the chat, by the way, about RJ Klopp.
This is my favourite.
No other teams, tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it might only be Newcastle and City, but I think we've actually played the most amount of games. I think it's 9 in December. I'm not sure if City has as well. But again, this is a whole theme of I saw a lot of exhaustion out there. And I saw a team like Brighton who are going to move you around. They did exactly that, particularly in that second half. I just saw a lot of wounded warriors. Like even Christensen came off injured again. Chalobah had to come on. Reece James, arguably our best player of the season, does his hammy all of a sudden. We've already lost Chilwell out for the season. Kante and Kovacic just came back after a couple of sessions. So I know we've got a good squad, and I appreciate that. But just the whole theme of this is now starting to physically take its toll. Not skill-wise, because skills we've got, but not an endless supply of energy. So that's the only counter argument, if you will.
I'm going to hold my thoughts a little bit on that fatigue point you make, because I do want to talk in general about the managers and some of the complaints. But I find it interesting that Spurs fans are mocking you in the chat, RJ and Alex and Martin, when they had a 1-1 draw against Southampton, and Conte comes out and speaks about fatigue when they've probably had the least fixtures out of anyone. They haven't had too much to do. And you have Conte coming out and having a sulk. I don't know. I saw that game. I thought a point was fair for both teams. But, Spurs could have, should have, would have. But they didn't. So.
Just quickly on Spurs again. You can't sum Spurs up more than that. They have a 3-0 win against a decent Palace the other day. And then 1-1 against Thing. Like, for us, it's a great result for United. And I'd say Arsenal as well. But you just can't pick them, for such a good win, and then coming up and you think, they have a good chance of beating Southampton. 1-1 draw, drop points. They're just up and down. It's so inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Spurs. I feel like they'll be in that top 6, definitely, especially under Conte. Yeah. But that was a disappointing result, and they should have done that. If you want to be competing for the top 4, they're the games you've got to win. Arj, do you have anything you wanted to add before we move on?
No, not really. I saw Alex's comment about the 3 goals disallowed. Yeah, all legitimate, mate. Like, you know what I mean? It only counts. Werner's had double-digit goals offside. They don't count for much. That's the rules, unfortunately. But yeah, Spurs are on the way up. That's a bottled result, but we know that they're used to bottling things out.
That's it. That's what they do. Morning Declared, who's joined us. Marty saying lock in top 4 for Spurs.
Wow, lock it in.
Marty, you're dreaming, mate. You're absolutely dreaming. George saying Southampton aren't as bad as we make them out to be. They've taken points of 3 of the top 6, and that's a really good point. That is a really, really good point. So, Can't argue with that. George speaking truth as always. We had Liverpool. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole for this one, but Liverpool in a disappointing loss against Leicester. I think for me, probably the stupidest take I saw on football Twitter about this was that Salah missed the penalty because he'd celebrated Christmas, which, he was copying a lot of criticism for. And I just saw that and thought, stupidity, absolute stupidity. But, he's bound to miss one every now and then. He has had a bit of a dip in form, though, Mo Salah, and that's concerning for Liverpool. But I guess if he was going to do that, this is the time before he goes off to the Nations Cup, shakes that off and comes back for them. But when he's not firing, they're not firing. And Mane, for me, was so poor in that game. So poor. I don't know if you saw that, RJ.
Yeah, I did. And I was smirking there because I saw you talk about bad tweets. A good tweet that I saw about Salah's missed penalty and follow-up was they had the same sort of comparison with him and Hazard, and he scored his header from a rebound. So saying, scoring rebounded headers is not for everybody sort of thing. But look, I wouldn't be concerned if I was a Reds fan. Similar to Chelsea, they're just going through that similar situation of the player fatigue rotation problem. But because of the whole AFCON problem, Klopp and his team would have been looking at these games as must-wins, knowing they needed the AFCON as a barrier to drop a few points here and there. So whether or not this is too late to bridge any gaps between them and City's a whole different kettle of fish. But you're going to get these banana skin results.
Yeah, but you know what? December can be a notorious month for that. I think you put out a tweet the other day, RJ, saying you don't win titles in December, but you can certainly lose them. And if City do the business against Arsenal, which, isn't the most unlikely thing in the world, they start to build up a good head of steam. And we've seen City do this. We've seen them run away.
8 points now is that's quite a thing. Considering there was such a close three-horse race, 8 points now opening up before Christmas.
Done, mate. I know it's a big call, but
we all know how hard it is to wheel in City.
Yeah, it's too far. I think they're going to have to be a monumental breakdown. The only reason I could see it happening is if both of Liverpool and ourselves get a result against them, but against the smaller end of town teams, unless they go through their own mini injury crisis, it seems like a pretty clear run. But hey, football, it's a football thing. Stranger things can happen.
It's crazy at the moment. And before we get into a whole bunch of predictions, because we've got a lot of fixtures to get through, I want to just throw a few quotes out there that I've heard. We had Thomas Tuchel this morning, and I want you boys to try and find the pattern, right? We had Thomas Tuchel come out this morning and say along the lines of, we're struggling, we have 2 injured players. I told you that this would happen weeks ago when he had a first whinge about the fixture congestion. So that's from Thomas Tuchel. We had Wreck-It Ralph, come out and say that the Carabao Cup should potentially be scrapped because
Which I agree with.
England's the only country with 2 domestic cups. We had a whole bunch of whinging from Klopp. I don't even need to quote it. Klopp's just non-stop been in the papers having a whinge. Dean Smith said it was insane that we're playing this many fixtures. There's been a lot of manager complaints, all banter aside. Now, the reason that I don't find this something to complain about is because by and large, and I know there have been some discrepancies. I know you guys had a game, you appealed for it to be postponed, Arj, but it was knocked back.
Yeah, against Wolves. That's the one I thought should have been. But anyway, go on.
I know there's a bit of controversy about Newcastle getting one postponed. There have been minor discrepancies, but by and large, everyone's playing a whole bunch of games at this point in the season. And
which is normal.
Right. It is normal at this point in December. I don't understand why these managers are coming out and complaining about it. I mean, other clubs are navigating it. Your opponents are navigating it. So if you're not winning, I don't think it's a good look to come out and be blaming fixture congestion. This is a squad game. You are allowed to bring in players from your youth, and a lot of clubs have been doing that. Do you think it's okay for these managers to be complaining? Is it a simple case of excuses, or do they have merit and they have a right to complain? We might start with you, Robbie.
I think it's a combination of both, because some of the things they have said, I think, they should definitely take into consideration. Example of what Ralph said with the two domestic cups. I think it was France. They got rid of theirs last year, so England's the only one. And it is like, it's fair enough. It's to help money through the pyramid and the smaller teams, but they've done something like they've got rid of the replay finally of FA Cups, which was so stupid that they've always done another fixture for no reason. For me, the one that I think they should be reintroducing at the moment is the 5 subs, especially with all the COVID at the moment, because England, again, are the most games and the only ones that haven't got the 5 subs in Europe, which is, I think, is crazy in this climate. And like I said, the fixtures is how it is. This is what makes the Premier League so famous. Everyone has a Christmas break. Everyone knows that Christmas in the Premier League is bang, 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 bang. Everyone knows that. So I think it could be a little bit more of the whinging because of the COVID situation, how some players are in, some players are out. But I think it was Gary Neville that said today, the games have got to go on. It doesn't matter if you've got to bring in all of your academy players to play it, because they do the same when there's a Carabao Cup game. How many times do you see the top teams make 10, 11 changes for a Carabao Cup? What's the difference now? If they've got it might be cruel and it may be not fair in certain games, but if you can field the team, you've got to do it. And then that's going to stop postponements, and it's going to stop more fixtures combustion at the end of the season. So I think the show should go on. I think some whinging is right, but I think some is just trying to take the limelight away from their players or bad results as well.
RJ, obviously Tuchel's been one of the managers coming out, and he's been a little bit unhappy. What do you make of it? What are your thoughts?
Legitimate concerns. If the people are asking him, and I'll read a direct quote, because I asked him about title races, and understandably so, he's frustrated. He says, "How should we be in it? We have seven COVID cases. We have 5 or 6 players out for 6 or more weeks. How should we compete in the title race?" So look, I understand he's talking about that. Go take out 5 regulars from 11 teams side. And I know it's a squad game, not 11 side. But the reality is most teams pick their best 11 each week. They don't pick their best 18 players each game, because you have a core group of players that you depend on. So Man City has dominated the last 4 or 5 years of the Premier League, and Liverpool's done a good job to open it up a little bit. But the reality is, unless you've got the core group of players fit and readily available every time, or for the vast majority of it, it's quite hard to properly judge the managers. And I understand, because again, it's not Football Manager, it's not pro clubs, where you can't just ask them to play every 48 hours and maintain 100% intensity against teams that haven't had the same amount of intensity of games. And then if you do rotate and you don't get a result, people are going to say, "But you're Chelsea, but you're Liverpool. Why aren't you getting a result?" Because you rotated, but you made a decision to rotate. Yeah, because they had one training session or they're out of COVID. So, you know what I mean? It's not excuses; it's justifying the context. And I agree with Tom. He had a comment in the chat about bringing those issues to light. I totally agree to it. They need to look. The show's got to go on. I agree. And some of these things are out of the players and managers' hands. When little 50-50s don't go your way, or you might get something that's on the borderline controversial decision, and that compounds the problem. Because say this morning, Pulisic gets that penalty, or Mount's goal gets countered, all of a sudden that's a hard-fought win, and we've survived another 48-hour or 72-hour turnaround, and all of a sudden it's not a problem anymore. But the reality is, he's only got a small kettle to pick from. And I understand where they're coming from. And I do agree, Klopp's a bit of a whinger, and I understand, but where he's coming from. What did the Premier League do about it? Like you've said, Scott, many times, try to achieve a little bit of consistency and maintain that integrity, because if it's good enough for us to play, it's good enough for everybody to play. And at least in the Carabao Cup, one thing I was happy about is we completely rotated all of our players, and we survived. And that's the main thing. As long as you're allowed to call up players and rotate them, the 5 subs will allow managers a bit more tactical flexibility, because if you've got the 3 subs and you're using 2 out of 3 of them purely just to manage fatigue and risk of injury prevention, then that's not a level playing field for someone who hasn't played for a week or 2. You know what I mean? So in short, yes, they're a little bit whinging because they've just got to get on with it. But is this a normal year? Have we been playing under a normal environment? No, we haven't. So they've got to cut them a bit of slack and meet them halfway.
declared in the chat saying, the normal was always players being overplayed, but there are more international games. There's COVID, there's a conference league, and there's more Europa games. I would kind of think on the flip side, though, players now are athletes, first and foremost. You go back 20 years, you had guys out on the pitch who would sink schooners after the game. They'd go to the pub with the boys. The players now are modern-day athletes. Playing every couple of days, to me, I don't think is a big issue.
But they're versing modern day athletes, aren't they?
They've got world-class physios, world-class doctors, world-class nutrition. Everything is world-class at these clubs. So to me, I think you go, you play. And if you've got to rotate, you rotate. Chelsea still put out a very strong team this morning, and you should have had enough to beat Brighton. And not just Chelsea. Liverpool still played. Salah, Jota, Mane, they still had a strong team, Van Dijk. So we're all in the same boat. And I think if there's any generation of players who are equipped to have to play this many games, it's this one. Because these guys are athletes and they're at the top of their game, and clubs are at the top of their game. So I just think
that's, yeah, I agree to an extent. Sorry, I agree with your point. I understand they're a lot more, they're better conditioned now, no doubt. They're at the top of the game. Very well diet, balance, all of that, monitored, red flags, all of that business. But the team that's being fielded out by Liverpool, a Man United or Chelsea, whatever, when you pick a player like Mason Mount or you pick Antonio Rudiger, that's all great on paper. But if they've played 90 minutes every 48 hours, you're not getting the same Rudiger amount that's played from 3 games before. They're going to be at 70% or 75%. So yes, they're great players, but that's sort of been offset by the fact that they're coming up against a team that might be inferior on paper in quality, but they might be superior in fitness. And that's where it's sort of, you know what I mean? It's at a bit of a loggerhead there. So I just think, how do you manage that problem? That's where I think the 5 subs is a bit of a compromise, because you're still getting on with the show, but at least you're giving the opportunity for managers to not expose these human beings to any unnecessary risk. Like Reece James is the latest one, as I said, that went down. He's as fit as they come, but his hamstring's gone. The guy's just been run to the ground. But what are you going to do? You can't blame Tuchel for not playing him, because you want him to be in a title race and you need your best players for that. And what are you going to say? No, you're going to put on Saul? He's not been playing well. You know
I wouldn't play him in my under 18s.
So you get what I mean.
See, but I think Chelsea, it's just been compounded by just a really bad injury run. And teams have this every couple of years. You do just have rotten luck with injuries. Like Chilwell's injury wasn't because he was running to the ground. It was just bad luck. And I don't know. I think if Chelsea win this morning, we don't hear any of that from Thomas Tuchel. We don't hear the complaining. It's hard forward, squad spirit. But look, I also don't mind managers deflecting, trying to bring a bit of the heat onto themselves to take it away from their teams. But, boys, it's been an interesting chat. We've got plenty of fixtures to predict. So we'll try and do these quickly, because I do want to spend a little bit of extra time on Man City and Arsenal and give that a little bit of a mini preview. But let's get straight into the predictions for now. And well done to everyone in the live chat. You're smashing it. Plenty of good conversation. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't for some crazy reason. We are on the road to 500 subs. I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger. Man United, Burnley. Let's start with that one. Robbie, you go. It's your team.
I'd love to be positive, boys, but I've got a bad feeling about this game. If I'm going with my prediction, I'm going 0-0. I don't know. I just have a bad feeling there's going to be a ball draw this one. We haven't had a lot of goals in us lately. Maybe 3-4 goals since Ragnick came in, and Burnley, one of those teams on their day, just like to frustrate. I don't know. My prediction is 0-0. Obviously, I'd love all 3 points at home, but yeah, I'll go 0-0 for prediction.
RJ,
I'll go 1-0 to United here.
I'm going to go 2-0 to Man United. If you want to chuck a prediction in the chat, please do what Martin's done and let us know who you're predicting. That way, because we're going at a fast pace, people will be able to see. I'm going to move your face, Rob. I'll cover mine. You're much more handsome than me. Alex is calling 2-1 United. Declared, stating the obvious. When don't you have a bad feeling, Rob? I agree.
I know.
0-0. And George calling 1 or 2. Wow.
I'm surprised he's worried about Chris Wood, to be honest, because I don't know. I don't rate him that highly, but I understand he's a physical player.
Let's come back to Arsenal and City. Let's go to Leicester and Norwich. RJ.
Leicester Norwich. Okay, this will be interesting. Norwich desperate after they lost to a fellow relegation contender in Arsenal. But stir you up, Scotty. Let's go with Leicester here. I think at the King Power, big win against Liverpool. They'll take this one, and let's lock in a 2-1 to City. Leicester.
I'm going 2-0 to Leicester in this one. What about you, Robbie?
Yep, same. 2-0 Leicester.
All right. I guess it's not a question of who will win, but it's more a question of how many goals will Watford win by. Watford Spurs. I might kick this one off. I actually think we'll see another 1-1 draw. I'm praying we see another 1-1 draw. What about you, Robbie?
I think Tottenham need to win this game. They need to bounce back off their 1-1. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Spurs on this one. They need these points.
What about you, RJ?
Yeah, I don't know. I know Conte's sides are very stubborn. They've been a bit up and down lately, although, like Alex said before, 3 goals disallowed. I do think they will scrape this one. I'll take a 2-1 to Spurs as well.
Interesting. Plenty of people in the live chat tipping a Spurs win. Plenty of love for them tonight. Let's go to Palace, West Ham, London derby. I don't see anything other than a West Ham win here. I'm going West Ham 1-0. What about you, RJ?
I'm not as clear-cut convinced at that
because
of where they're playing. This is a tough one. Palace have been a bit, but West Ham have equally been shaky. I know, especially at home. West Ham, I know, are desperate, but I think this is going to be a stalemate. Lock me in for a 1-1 here.
Robbie?
Yeah, I like that too. 1-1. Palace at home, always a pain. West Ham, like you said, hot and cold lately. I'm going to go the draw as well, 1-1.
Interesting. Let's go down. There are a few more. We've got a lot to predict tonight, boys. This could make a big mark on our tipping ladder. Daniel, if you've got an update on where the scores are at, man, chuck in the live chat and I'll put it up. Let's look at Brentford hosting Villa. RJ, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with a Villa bounce back here. I will take a 2-1 to Villa.
Robbie?
Brentford were pretty resilient, only losing to City 1-0 this morning, which is impressive. So, and they're always good at home as well. So
it's tough.
I know, picking a lot of draws tonight. I might go Villa. I'll go 1-0 Villa. I think it'll be very close again.
I'm going to go with 2-0 to Villa. I'm agreeing with Marty here, who's also called 2-0. Al's saying 1-0 to Villa. Interesting. Everton hosting Brighton. This should be a low-key interesting match. I might go first. I think we'll see a 1-1 draw in this. Brighton should have a bit of bounce after their result this morning, but I think Everton have a goal in them. So I'm going 1-1. What about you, Robbie?
Sorry. I'm going to go for Brighton. They impressed me this morning, and Everton haven't been impressing me lately. So I'm going to go 2-1 to the Seagulls.
Okay. What about you, Arch?
Yeah, I think the Seagulls are going to win. It's going to leave a sour tasting toffee in Benitez's mouth to start the new year. Let's lock in a 3-1 win to Brighton.
Do you agree with George? Rafa's gone if he loses this game?
Well, the problem is, who do they get? You know what I mean? That's my concern. I tipped him a while ago. Remember, I said he would be next to go before they got rid of Ollie. But I don't know. It just, if he goes, they bring Big Dunk in. I don't know.
They've got Ollie's out there. He's on the market.
Driving around somewhere.
That's it. He's at the wheel. Just quickly chuck this one up. I'm getting a bit of stick in the chat too for my comments saying Chelsea put out a strong team. I didn't say very strong. I said strong team.
Give it to him, mate. Give it to him.
You know, there was a £110 million striker up front, so I would.
Hey, he's 97, mate.
Oh, sorry, close enough. Pulisic in there, Rudiger. Did Christensen play?
Yeah, before he
Yeah,
and
come
Reece
off,
James
yeah.
got injured. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I call that strong enough for me. Jorginho, Ballon d'Or, third place. Mate, if that's not a
That's it.
strong team, I don't know what is. This Chelsea victim mentality
Definitely.
is strong tonight. Let's look at Leeds Burnley. We might get you to kick this one off, RJ.
Sure. I think Leeds at home will get the job done. Too much attack to break down a stubborn Burnley. Let's go 3-1 Leeds.
Wow. 3-1. What do you
I
think, Rob?
know.
This is nearly like a 6-pointer game, isn't it? They're pretty close at the bottom, these two.
Oh, I think so.
I'd say so. I'll go for a lead. I haven't picked lead for a while. They have a few games they've had off, I think. So I'm going to go for a lead 2-0.
Shame Davide's not here tonight. I'm going 1-1 Leeds Burnley. Well, what about this comment from George? Isn't it time to acknowledge
Stitch
Palace
up,
West
mate.
Ham as a real London derby? Mate, come on. Come on. Look, it will
The
be
best of the rest, maybe.
Yeah, look, that's right. That's right. Let's move on. Too much banter tonight. Chelsea, Liverpool. Very excited for this one. What's going to happen, RJ? This is your team.
Oh, well, if we don't get another 7 COVID cases, we might both have a team to play. It'll be interesting, the battle of the complaining managers. Who's going to complain more? That's what it should be billed as. But what do I think will happen here? It's a tough one. Must win for both teams, I'd say, at this stage. So it should be very entertaining for all to watch. So naturally, it's going to be a 0-0 or draw. But in all seriousness, I think this will be 1-1. I think it's just we both need to win. No one's going to win. City's the ultimate winner. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't argue with that 1-1 for me as well. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, look, this looks like it's got draw written all over it. Cancel each other out. They don't really move up and down on the ladder. I actually think Liverpool might go for this, but I'm going to go 1-0 to Liverpool.
He's sacked. Get him off the show. You're banned. That's it.
Yeah, this is interesting from George 2-1 Chelsea. Liverpool's front line will be tentative with an eye on AFCON. I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree on that, George. I think if you're Mo Salah and Sadio
No, I think they're going to want to get
All or nothing.
Yeah, before they lose their players, I think they're going to want to have a big result here. I could see them going for this. Look, Chelsea are good, but they just haven't been scoring a lot of goals. I just think there's a few more goals in that Liverpool team if they're clinical. So if there's going to be a winner, I think it might be Liverpool. Only because Chelsea have been dropping a lot of points at home against teams they should have beaten already.
And also,
for many
no joke.
reasons.
Yeah, exactly. No joke. But again, I'll say hamstring now to Reece James. No Chilwell. That's the wing back threat gone for us. Kante is been injured. He just come back. Kovacic just fresh now. Up front, no Timo Werner because
That's
of
probably
his
a good
COVID
thing,
stuff. Oh, not from a space creation point of view, but the point I'm getting at is that this is going to be a heavily rotated swap change. So we'll see, but I don't know. I'm still confident 1-0.
Well, I keep hearing how good Cobham is. This is now the time for Cobham to show how good it is to earn its bucks. Man United, Wolves. Robbie, your team. This is the last one we're
1-0
looking at.
United.
Oh, okay. No hesitation. Who's scoring?
Yeah, no. This game's got 1-0 every time we play, so it's going to be 1-0 or 1-0. But I'm going to go for a win on this one, 1-0 United.
I'm not going to argue with you. I agree. 1-0, 1-0 United. RJ?
1-0 for me.
All right. Well, boys, that's all those games covered. I didn't realise, I'm not going to lie, I didn't realise it was Chelsea, Liverpool till just now when we did the predictions, or I would have put a little bit more about that in the promo. I apologise for that. Let's quickly talk City Arsenal. Master versus Apprentice. It's ironic that in the chat we've had these two comments, one saying, how ironic, an Arsenal fans complaining when COVID hasn't really impacted on us. Then the very next comment saying Arteta won't be at the helm due to COVID. So we are missing our manager on the touchline for this. So that'll have an impact. And we have had a couple of players in and out. I think Tomiyasu is a doubt. So we might have to push Ben White out to right back. Will be interesting to see what happens here. But this is big, and this is big for the league as a whole, because if City can be prevented from taking 3 points, that adds a little bit more interest for Chelsea and Liverpool. In their match, it raises the stakes. But if City take the points, I think they're clear. I don't think anyone will catch them from here. Let's start on Arteta. Do you think it will have a big impact not having him on the touchline, RJ, or do you think City will just dominate and play their way regardless of who's on the touchline?
Well, to me, it acts as a good protection mechanism for Arsenal, because now if they lose and get touched up, that'll be the number one excuse. He wasn't on the touchline. We couldn't adjust. But I think it will affect them because he is such a manager that's meticulous with his details, and like you said, he's quite robotic in his instructions, perhaps sometimes a little too much. But it just depends on what the messaging is now, knowing that he won't be there to direct. So who's actually going to be on the sideline for you guys? Who is your second in charge?
I can't pronounce his name, but it'll be our assistant. You see him all the time on the sideline. He'll be there. So
it'll be interesting to watch the dynamic from his point of view. If he's quiet
always
or if he's
standing
vocal.
beside Arteta. They're all. He's not as vocal, but they're always both there, side by side. He seems to me more tentative, more quiet with the notebook, whereas Arteta is at the players for the whole game. So it will be interesting. But for me, it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. If we get touched up, it's that similar cycle that we've seen Arsenal build up ahead of steam. They have some really good results. We start dreaming a little bit. And then we get blown out in a really big crunch game. And then that disappointment begins again, and then we start getting some results. It's almost like the circle of life. But to me, getting touched up in this game is unacceptable. It's not a free hit. I want us to compete. If we both fight really hard and we lose narrowly, so be it. But I don't want to walk away from that game having seen Arsenal not compete and get easily turned over.
What's a good result for you?
There you go, RJ. Thanks, man. You had his name. Stuyvenberg. Albert Stuyvenberg. Good catch. Tricky one to pronounce. What were you going to say?
Yeah, sorry, no, because I respect the fact that you're not using the Arteta excuse. I do think he does weaken them because he's not there to manage them, so to speak. But you said you want him to play with confidence, at least have a good go. What does a good go look like? Is it a result in terms of the end product, or is it just not getting hammered like last time? What's a good result for you?
It's hard. I think for me, I can't make that call until I've seen the game. Like, you would understand what I'm saying when you sometimes in the past you've seen your team lose a match and you say, you know what, we had a crack. We were just unlucky. We played a good match. They were just a little bit better. It might be like a moment of brilliance that separates it. I just don't want to walk away saying we weren't in that at any point. For me, I think a draw is realistic. I'm actually going with a draw in this match. I'm not going to go out and say we won it. I got bitten when we played Liverpool. I was actually super confident going into that because we had great form. We had a fully fit squad, and we all know what happened. So I'm still burning a bit from that. I'm feeling a 1-1 draw, but I'm not saying that with any confidence. I just want to compete. Robbie, do you think Arsenal have a chance of competing against the juggernaut of Man City?
Yeah, why not? I think every game everyone has a chance. As we seen this morning, only 1-0 against Brentford, and I'm sure everyone would have picked, a cricket score there. So Man City are up and down as well. And they can, as we've seen against the Leicester game, when they put their guard down for a little bit, Leicester scored 3 goals within 10 minutes. So, they can be, their defense can be brought down, if you know what I mean. So, look, I do. Where's it at? The Emirates or is that
the Emirates? It's at home.
At the Emirates. Yeah, look, I think you guys are good enough for a result, if I'm going to be honest. But if I'm going to put it for a tip, I think it's hard to not go past City. I'll go 2-1, but I definitely think Arsenal have it in them to get a result in this game. And we've seen it before. As we'll go back a couple of years ago, that semi-final to get into the FA Cup was a great performance. Anything can happen. If Aubameyang's not in the team, they have a good chance of getting a result.
Who do you think could be the danger man from Arsenal, Robbie? If we are going to get a result, someone will need to really step up. Who's that man for you?
You know me, Matt. I always talk Lacazette up. I'm a fan of him. He's wearing the captain's armband, if I'm not wrong at the moment. And look, your Smith Rowe. Every time he jumps off the bench or is included in a game, he seems to be getting on the score sheet as of late. So I'd say he's always going to be a dangerous player as well.
RJ, what do you think about this comment from Tom? We'll know how the game will go after 5 minutes. If City score early, it's going to get messy. If Arsenal get to halftime level, we've got a game. You agree?
Spot on. I agree. So the devil's in the detail. That opening is going to dictate the flow of the game. If you guys go out there with your gloves up and just take punches and are super passive, I think that's going to burn you. But if you go there and play with a little bit of bravery and a bit of courage and just show some signs of life to let City not feel comfortable and get into a groove, that's the trick. Because like you said, the longer you allow yourselves to stay in it, the longer it creates doubt in City's mind. And as Robbie said, they're very susceptible to leaking goals at the back. It's just, do you have enough in you for 90 minutes to stop them from getting into a bit of momentum? And that's why I think for key players, Robbie, just to round it up very quickly, the middle of the park. So your Partey's and Xhaka are going to play, presumably next to him.
Yeah.
I think they're crucial to sort of block that front, sort of that fluid three and keep them nice and quiet. Because I think, you've got Kieran Tierney. I think they're going to do a good job on the sides. Ben White, if you're saying if he's going to play on the right, he's got a big job on his hands. But I think those two defensive midfielders are going to have the game of their lives to sort of get a result for you boys.
Scott, there's definitely a possibility where we could see Arsenal score early. The thing for them is, if they score early and they do their mistake of sitting back and letting City back in the game, that's where it's going to get that. I could see them losing if they win. But if they score early and have a go, that's where I think Arsenal can get a result. Because we've seen it when they played us, they scored early on at Old Trafford. Yep. They quieted the crowd down, and what happened? They sat back and let us right back in the game, let us build up momentum, and then it came back and bite them on the bum. So if they score early and they have a go at City, I think it'll be a really cool game.
We've got a good defense, but we are not a good defensive team, if that makes sense. We can defend when we have to, but we cannot go out and park the bus. It doesn't work for Arsenal. It's not. We don't have the tools to play that way. So I want to look at some of the score predictions from the live chat. I've called a 1-1 draw. Robbie's called 2-1 to City. Arja, I don't know if we caught your prediction.
Not yet. I'll lock in 3-1 to City.
You're agreeing with Alex. Alex is saying 3-1 City. George is saying City 4-0. God, I hope you're wrong, George. I hope you're not right. Martin, 3-0 City, although I'm hoping for 6. Interesting chat. Guys, it's been a fun live chat tonight, hasn't it? Jules, my favourite embrouiller, is saying 2-1 to City, unfortunately, because he is an Arsenal fan. And Master Yoda saying Arsenal fans will be unbearable if they win this. Oh, you better believe it. I will be unbearable. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to try get Simon Hill on if we win it. 1-0 to the Arsenal, Master Yoda. Yes, my man. That's a good shout.
Scott, if you guys do get 3 points in this game, that is massive for your top 4 fight, man. Massive.
100%.
Yeah, I was going to say that's huge. No, you're right. Go on. I've got a follow-up point. Go.
It is. It's mad. There we go. My favourite embrouiller. That's the man, the myth, the legend. It looks good on you, Robbie. Looks great on you. Look at that. Don't you love family vacations?
Oh.
I was going to say, Jules at one point is saying, all we're hearing is Chelsea excuses, but we've got the Arsenal fan picking a 3-0 result to City, so he's covering both of his bases. Don't you just love that? The protection.
He did say 2-1 to City, 2-1. Let's not go
2-1. Sorry.
Before we move on, this is the tipping score at the moment. Jeez, I don't really like looking at that too much. And we also missed a match. We missed Southampton-Newcastle. So quick predictions on that, boys. I'm going to go with 1-1, Southampton-Newcastle. What about you, Arch?
No, I'm going to go for the Saints here. I'm going to lock me in for a 2-1 to the Saints.
I'm on the Newcastle relegation bandwagon, so 1-0 to the Saints. Sorry, Shano.
Oh, there you go. There's our tips, boys. Let's quickly have a look at the Fantasy Premier League ladder because it has been tricky times at the moment. I'm not going to lie. I found it incredibly hard to navigate all of the fixture postponements. We did get given a free chip to use. How have you found it lately, Robbie? You found it tricky to navigate your subs?
The past 2 weeks, boys, I haven't even looked at it, and I'm normally very Mr. Consistent, but it's been all over the place. So yeah, I know last week with the COVID, I had like 6 players out. I've had my players out, one captain. This week, I know Salah missed a penalty. I think Ronaldo was my captain this week, so I don't even know where I am or how much I've dropped. But the past 2 weeks, I haven't even looked at my team, so it's been bad. I'm looking forward to I think after January 1st, we get another wild card, so I might have to look at that.
I think we've got it now. It's available now, another wild card that
there you go.
I'm contemplating using, but I think...
Are they cumulative, Scott? Are the wild cards cumulative? Or?
You've got 2. You had one originally for the season, but they've just given another one. I already used one, but I'll be using the next one.
So if I haven't used it, could I use 2?
I think the first one has to be used by like January 1st, and then if you don't, too bad, then you get the second one for the second half of the year.
Yeah, free hit, not a wild card. You know what I mean. You know what I mean, Davide. Yeah, so I found it tricky, but I've noticed that a few people have kind of dropped out, not paying as much attention to it. And for me, I've actually really enjoyed trying to navigate it. I've had some good results the last few weeks. We've on our ladder got Dan Hill now as our new leader. A good friend of the show, runs his own pod. Check him out.
Did he change his name of his team? I'm going to have to ask him about that.
I think he did. But take it Reese on me. Top 10. Ben's dropped down a little bit to 10th place.
I don't even know where I am.
We've got George here in 11th. Let's keep going. Oh, geez. You've really dropped.
Oh, here I am.
Ooh,
oh, no. That's you. You've jumped me.
Yeah, I told you I've had a couple of good weeks. I'm equal with Declared.
Very good, man. Very good.
There you are, Robbie. 33rd, man.
Well, I have to up it again. I don't like that.
I'm not quite sure where you are. Oh, there you are, RJ. 43rd, man. So it's been interesting times. The Salah captain pick really messed a few people. I didn't captain him. I captained Harry Kane, who got a goal this week, and I'm glad I didn't captain Salah with that 0.
Mate, I've been dropping so much points the last few weeks I had like triple up on Chelsea defenders, and in the last few weeks
injured, mate. What do you do?
I've subbed them out, and I put actually Arsenal. I've got Arsenal's keeper, and I've got Ben White, I think, in there as well. So I've been getting clean sheets of them, but besides that, the teams have been COVID affected and not performing or anything. So I need to look into it.
I can't believe about that free hit stuff. I'm spewing. I'm thinking I'm going to back end them all to the latter part of the season, not knowing they run out halfway through. Silly.
And I'm just reading as well, the free hits, you just can't use them 2 weeks in a row. So you can't play your free hits 2 consecutive weeks. So for anyone who's trying to navigate their team, make sure you don't do it 2 weeks in a row. Alex saying, I love seeing you pick a Spurs captain. Well, Fantasy Premier League is very competitive, and I wasn't happy with my position. I want top 10. So if I have to captain Harry Kane to do it, I will. Boys, is there anything we've missed, or are we ready for some quickfires?
I think it's QF time, I think.
I think we're good.
Can't beat a good QF. Let's get into them.
Anyone got one ready?
I've got 2, boys.
Good man.
And just saying, I went back and listened to the episode the other week. I was burning and I missed out some really good QFs. I'm going to quickly, my favorite jersey, whoever asked the question, is still my 98/99 long sleeve Umbro. My favorite jersey ever. And I think it means something because it was my first ever kit. So maybe that's why I always say it was my favorite. So my first one tonight, first gaming console you owned.
Like on Nintendo or something, I'll go first. Like Nintendo, and I had the old Mario Brothers was the very first, I believe.
I think it was a Mega Drive for me, Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, mine was the Sega Mega Drive. That was my first as well.
Yeah, you got your own one?
And second one I've got tonight is, because it's this time of the year. What's that?
I was saying Sonic was one of the games I had on the Mega Drive as well.
Yeah, Sonic, that's it. Same Sonic. And the other one, favorite chocolate, boys. Everyone's getting chocolates this time of the year. So, what's your favorite chocolate?
Scott, you go first.
Man, I'm a bit boring. Just plain Cadbury Dairy Milk, man. That does it for me.
I'll lock in just out of the top of my head. I'll go Ferrero Rocher.
Yep, same. Ferrero Rocher for me as well.
Interesting. All right, I'll go next. I've only got the one this week. I used all my bangers last week. One player from your biggest rivals. So for you guys would be Man City. For us, I would probably say it's Spurs. RJ, you guys weren't really relevant till Roman took over, so you can pick whoever you want, mate. But a player from your biggest rivals who you would have loved to see in your team.
Oh, easy, Kevin De Bruyne.
There you go. What about you, RJ?
Well, I won't pick Arsenal. Well, I won't pick Arsenal because they're not rivals, mate. They're not good enough, so we won't pick them. So we'll lock in City, and I'll probably say Sergio Aguero.
Ooh,
I was going to say Sergio, but he's retired now, so I thought it wouldn't count.
Oh, is it current or past? That's a good question, Rob.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for me.
Okay.
Obviously Spurs. I'm going to say Modric when he used to play for Spurs. I would say Harry Kane, but he started at Arsenal, so he was ours at one point, but wasn't good enough for us.
No Bale? You wouldn't have Bale?
No, I can't stand Gareth Bale. I honestly can't stand him, but I really like Modric as a player, and I could have seen him kind of with that Santi Cazorla mold. Just he's obviously a little bit better than Santi, but I would have loved to see him in our squad. Would have loved to absolutely see him. There's a couple of good ones in here. Stevie Gerrard from Daniel. Martin says he'll play with 10. George Yaya Toure, that's a good shout. We almost signed him too. Alex saying the ball boy. Master Yoda saying Aguero, he almost signed for Chelsea. Michael Owen, see him lift a title and wind up Liverpool. Son, Jules is saying, I like Son.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
In the past, Liam Brady from Martin, good shout. And Al now saying Bergkamp. Boys, do you have a quick fire for us, RJ, before I wrap this up?
I do. And just the last one, because you said a rival, I'll count AC Milan. I'll take Andrea Pirlo. He was so close to coming to Chelsea. I'll never forget it, but I'll leave it on that note. My question, I know. Well, he was so close. Ancelotti is so close. But anyway, question I've got for you, best thing you've watched in 2021, because it's 2021 theme. Could be a movie, could be a show, could be a doco, sport thing, whatever.
Robbie, you go first.
You know me, boys, a big Marvel fan. I just watched the latest Spider-Man. That was right up there. Not far behind Endgame, I think. Really close.
Really? Was it that good?
Really good movie. But yeah, there's been a couple good shows. But look, that's the answer to my question. I'll go the new Spider-Man movie.
Good answer. Scotty?
God, what do I say? There's so much. There's a series on Netflix called Arcane that I really, really enjoyed. That was only late this season. I know we'll click stop broadcast and I'll think of another one, but yeah, I'll probably say Arcane or the Euros. I really enjoyed the Euros this year, despite Italy winning it. But the best of that, the rest was good. A couple of good ones in here. We've got Daniel, Italian documentary. I wouldn't have watched that one. I'm not sure which one.
That's the Euros one he's talking about.
Gotcha.
Cobra Kai too.
Wait, Cobra Kai comes out tomorrow, season 4. I'm pumped for it.
Is it tomorrow? Oh,
tomorrow, yeah. I'm pumped.
I haven't watched it, so I might have to. And George saying the best thing you watched was that 3-2 result. There you go. Boys, another one done. We will see you all in 2022. May your football team be lucky, except for Spurs. May the results be good. May there be plenty of goals. And we hope on behalf of all the boys that you have a really, really happy new year with your families. Stay safe. The boys will see you back in 2022. We're doing a Tuesday show, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah, we're back
God
on.
willing, we can all do it. That'd be great.
We're back on
Depends
Tuesday.
on the United results.
Yeah, that's it. Right, Rob might pike out again.
Get Tom on speed dial already, just in case.
Hey, Rob, did you take your PS5 with you up to the coast?
I
Would you look
didn't.
for the Ball
Everyone's
Club?
been on me. You guys, the thing. So I said a week off. You know what? It's a dumb thing why I didn't, because I have to set up in my mum and dad's room. I don't want to put in the theater room because everyone's in there. And because the PS5 is so big, it's hard to like set up on my mum's thing. I'm like, I'm not risking dropping that. So I'll go a week without PC, and then when I get back home, I've got a good 10 days of holidays left of smashing it before I go back to work.
Fair call. RJ, any closing thoughts, mate, before we wrap this up?
I was just going to say, my quick fire, I didn't give my answer, was the Chelsea winning the Champions League along with the Euros. So it's a double for me, so I'll happily accept that. But aside from that, this has been an awesome 55, 56 minutes, and it's been the highlight of my week. So thanks you guys very much.
Robbie, anything you want to say, mate?
Yeah, again, say everyone in the new year, happy new year. And like I said, stay safe in this current climate. Be safe and enjoy the time with your family.
See you all in 2022. Take care. Enjoy your football.